guys, Willie Mandrell with the Mandrell Company, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about buy, rehab, rent, and refinance. BRRR, one of the coolest, in my opinion, one of the coolest ways to buy rental property with little to no money out of your own pocket. The idea behind this method is that you are actually building equity, building in your down payment with your renovations. You're purchasing at a certain point where you can rehab the property and build in some equity. So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk a little bit about what equity is. Equity is the amount of, let's do it this way, the skin in the game that you have. Equity typically comes as a down payment. So if you are financing a $100,000 property, if you're purchasing a $100,000 property, you put 10% down. You have about $10,000 in equity within that property right from day one. And usually it came out of your pocket, it went into the property. You now owe $90,000 and the property is worth $100,000. You have 10% equity or $10,000 worth of equity into that property. In order for you to get a mortgage, a lot of times, all the time, mortgage lenders are going to want to see that you have some skin in the game or some equity into the property. So instead of you buying the equity or putting the down payment, is there a way for you to create the equity? And that's what the buy, rehab, rent, and refinance is all about, is creating that equity versus buying down the equity. So in this situation, the example that I have for you on the screen, you're purchasing a property at $350,000. Your rehab cost is about $120,000. The financing costs are about $30,000, and that's your hard money, your private money, whatever you're going to pay your lender in interest and closing costs and everything else to get this this loan and this rehab funds. So if you purchase the property at $350,000, you put $120,000 into it, and the price of that money or the cost of that money was $30,000. When it's all said and done, you were about $500,000 deep into this property or invested into this property. If you have an ARV or an after repair value, the house is worth $625,000 after it's all said and done. You're in a pretty good position. So if you're into this house for $500,000 and through your rehab cost you've created a house that's worth $625,000. If you take that $500,000 and you divide it by $625,000, you end up with an 80% LTV or an 80% loan to value ratio. That means 500 is 80% of the 625. Your debt of 500 is 80% of the 625 that the house is worth at the end of the day. If you create that type of equity in a house, it means you have about $125,000 worth of equity in this position, or 20% in this particular case. You can now go back to the banks and say, I want to refinance out of this high price money, because most likely what you've done here to purchase this property and to get these rehab funds, you've most likely used a private lender, which is typically more expensive than a conventional lender or conventional mortgage with commercial lending, or you used hard money, or you've used several other methods. Most likely you are in short-term high-cost money to purchase the property, to rehab the property, to get in quickly, to make this deal happen. You've created your equity, and now you wanted to go into a more stable mortgage program at the end of it. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to a more conventional lender and you're going to say, now I own this property. I have about $500,000 in debt on it. It's worth $625,000. I want you to refinance me out of this high price money into something more conventional. In a perfect world, that lender is going to say, yes, you have 80% loan to value. We have about $125,000 worth of equity into the property. We should be able to do this for you, no problem. So this is one of the things that one of the ways that this Boston buy, rehab, rent, and refinance is one of the coolest ways. If you really understand it, it's not something that as a new investor you're just going to walk into and just completely get it. The other side of this is, even if you built in your equity, you have $125,000 in equity in this property, you owe $500,000, that's great. you refinance out of that, does the property still cash flow? Does it produce income for you? So that's the other part of the equation you still have to think about, is if this is a single family home producing, let's say, $2,500 a month, that's great. You have a decent amount of equity, but now your property is still, regardless of whether you go back to the banks and they give you a more conventional loan, I can tell you just from understanding the numbers that this property is still going to lose money every month, and that's not what you want. After you get out, you still want the property, or after you get out of your high-priced money and into a more conventional loan, you still want your property to cash flow at the end of the day as well. So if you have not watched any of our prior videos, and this is a little bit above your head, it probably will be, you really want to go back and you really want to understand private money. You really want to understand conventional financing, commercial financing. You really want to understand private money. And if you understand those things, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here, and how cool this method can be in terms of building equity and getting in with little money out of your own pocket. So hopefully this was helpful. If you would like to be connected with any of our lenders, whether it be commercial, residential, hard money, or otherwise, please click on the link in the video description, fill out the form, and we will connect you with one of our trusted lenders. Hopefully this was helpful. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching our video. Did you find this information useful? If so, please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more helpful videos. I would also encourage you to share this video with your friends and your family. Thanks again for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.